Hello. Today we will look at the advantages and disadvantages of Company X providing on-site daycare for children of employees. My name is Travis Stafford. I will be presenting the introduction along with then fellow team members later on, Joseph Dancy, Whitney Ernst, and Marilyn Lozada. The information presented will discuss history of daycare in the workplace, advantages and disadvantages of having on-site daycare, the feasibility of on-site daycare, and then we've also compiled data which helps us better understand how it is affordable or not for companies to provide on-site childcare. The purpose of employers providing on-site daycare to their employees is because it saves the employers money, it minimizes absenteeism, increases productivity, as well as decreasing employee turnover. Problems being faced by these companies by providing the on-site daycare is that it is too expensive for most employers to consider, as well as the experience and the well-equipped staff that is also needed to be able to maintain these centers is also a very costly ordeal. Daycare history. Daycare essentially was developed in countries outside the United States. First daycare centers appeared in France during the 1840s and was actually recognized then by the French government in 1869. The United States was much later on in terms of this, in terms of daycare, 3/4 of a century before there was daycare in the workplace in the U.S. Evidence discovered by Sandra Bird of Bird and Associates, which is a child care benefits research consulting firm in Los Angeles, California, actually found that daycare went as far back to the Civil War, where women who sewed the soldiers' clothing were actually offered then on-site childcare at that time. During World War II, worksite childcare was made available to the women who worked in the shipyards in Portland, Oregon. The 1970s, you really began to see an uptick in women in the workforce, which in turn increased on-site childcare due to the women needing to be at home, be in the workplace, and not obviously be at home taking care of their little ones. This expanded to the hospitals, government agencies, and private companies. Didn't grow as much as what you would have expected, even though it allowed more women to join the workforce, and it's pretty evident that the research we found with the costs and all the other issues is the reason why it didn't expand the way you would have thought. Survey conducted by the Families and Work Institute of 1,000 American companies found that 9% of companies with 100 or fewer employees have on-site daycare. 7% of companies with less than 250 employees provided on-site daycare. And between 250 to 999 employees, 5% of companies provided on-site daycare. The companies with more than 1,000 employees provided this the most frequently. 18% of the time did these companies provide on-site childcare. I briefly want to touch now on the advantages and disadvantages of daycare in the workplace, which will be explored more in depth later on in the presentation with the fellow team members. First, the advantages. Advantages of on-site daycare to organizations is that it assists recruitment and retention, cuts absenteeism, and improves the overall job performance of the employees. A few disadvantages: excessive startup costs. Then those costs not only are startup, but they then carry on month to month with high operating fixed costs. The excessive liabilities and security risks are also a pretty sizable disadvantage for companies to provide on-site childcare. As I previously mentioned, just a quick look at these advantages and disadvantages. These will be built on more thoroughly through the remainder of the presentation. So I want to thank you for your time, and now on to a more in-depth look at the advantages of childcare in the workplace.